Hello, and welcome to another edition of 360 Half Seconds. My name is Kia from 360 Vet Sales, and with me today is 360 Vet Sales CEO Matt Arena. Matt, what's going on? How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Kia?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm hanging in there. It's been a good summer so far. Um,
Good.
so I've got an interesting topic that we're going to talk about today. And before we get to that topic, I'm just going to quickly remind everybody how this works. I'm going to ask Matt a question. He has 360 half seconds or 3 minutes to answer that question. No guarantees on if we're going to go over or not. Um, so today's an interesting one because it's kind of like what we're going to do today is we're going to harken back to a past conversation we've had in one of these episodes and then um, expand upon that. So, in one of our past episodes, we talked about who are the people that you need on your team when you're going through a sale. You're selling your veterinary practice. Who are the people that you need on your team? And some of the people that we talked about were like a financial advisor, a tax specialist, a broker, obviously, or an M&A advisor. And then we also said that you need a veterinary specific M&A attorney. And obviously, that's a very specific term, a veterinary specific mergers and acquisitions attorney. And the reason I'm thought that this would be a good topic today is because we do get a lot of people that come and ask us, "Hey, well, does it really need to be a veterinary specific M&A attorney? Can I just use my normal attorney that I use for other things?" And so my question for you today, Matt, is what are the benefits of using a veterinary specific M&A attorney versus just any attorney?
All right. So I think starting right out, I'll answer the first part of this question is why wouldn't I use my typical attorney that maybe let's just call it a general counsel attorney, general attorney versus a mergers and acquisitions attorney? The biggest reason is there's a lot of components that go into the M&A side of things that your general attorney may not be as familiar with. And what we see is it creates a lot more stress on our customers because as you get close to closing, there are things that need to be done, such as disclosures, for example, where when you're using an M&A specific attorney that focuses in mergers and acquisitions, they're very familiar with doing disclosure schedules. They're going to probably take a lot of the heavy lifting on that. They'll probably get right into the data room, grab the data they need, put the disclosures together, review them with you, get your sign off, and then move on with the deal. Where we see stressors for our clients or stressors on the deals where things take longer, it's it's typically when they're not using an M&A specific attorney. And what you kind of have to remind yourself of there is the age-old saying, time kills all deals. So now you have an attorney that is not used to M&A. They're redlining things more than they probably need to or should. They're not familiar enough with the whole complete process from start to finish. And so you're flirting with things are taking too long. A
Hmm.
real world example, we have had buyers come to us and say, if this deal doesn't get wrapped up from a legal standpoint by next week, we're postponing it for 2 months because that's the next time that we can close.
That's dangerous, right?
Very.
Because you just said it yourself. Time kills all deals. And when you're in a situation where you want to get this deal closed and now they're adding 2 months to it, you know, you could lose a vet during that time. Your revenue at your practice could tank during that time. And all
Yep.
of a sudden, now we're looking at a completely different deal in 2 months because it
Yep.
didn't close on time. And now they want to renegotiate the deal because things.
Exactly. Exactly. Or they back out of the deal. So there's just so much risk there. And it really that it's one of those things that's easily avoided if you use an M&A specific attorney. It's just it's the right thing to do.
You brought up a good point about the redlining. I think part of the reason you see it transactions go through on time without issue a lot of the time is because the attorney understands the industry norms. They understand, they've seen so many of these different contracts from all of the different buyers, not just like one specific buyer. And at some point, there is such thing as an industry standard, right? And so they know kind of what things within these contracts are industry standards and which things are not. So therefore, they're not redlining everything, that could be just
Well,
normal to the industry.
let
Um,
let me clarify something because you're kind of crossing the bridge ahead. So the first thing I was comparing is a general attorney versus like, whoever my typical attorney is and an mergers and acquisitions attorney. The
mhm.
next thing, which is what you're jumping into there, which is really important, is can I just use my friend that's a mergers and acquisitions attorney or someone that I know that does M&A or a veterinary specific M&A attorney, meaning an M&A attorney that either all they do is veterinary industry, or they don't have to be that way. There's someone who's done 5, 6, 10, 15 deals in the veterinary space with corporate buyers, corporate platforms. And that's what you're getting into with the industry experience. And that is so important because I can tell you when you have someone who's veterinary specific, they're familiar, they know where they can squeeze, where they can redline, where they can negotiate, and they also know where they're just not going to win. And what we see
Yeah.
time and time again with a non-veterinary M&A attorney that doesn't have that level of experience, they will go through and they're going to redline and go after things that just are never going to happen.
Hmm.
And so every single time, all they really do is delay the closing of the deal. When we get to the finish line, they didn't win anything that they were going after that wasn't going to be won from the get-go anyway. So all it does is create undue stress on the deal, on the seller, on the buyer, and time kills all deals. It puts your deal at risk. I
Well,
don't think
and
you could say it any better than that.
no, and I think that's the biggest takeaway. I think, there's also this other takeaway there, which is, hey, it's going to cost you more money, right? At the end of the day, if you have an attorney that's digging their heels in on things that they may not win, but they're billing you by the hour, how much is that going to cost you, and what are you getting out of it at the end of the day, right? And it's not to say these are bad attorneys or anything like that. They're not. They're often great attorneys, but just like anything else, you wouldn't as like, you know there are specialties, right? There are specializations within this industry, and you're always better off, even if it's going to cost you just a little bit more money, of using an attorney that knows how to get your deal across the finish line, because at the end of the day, that's the most important thing.
I don't think from a cost standpoint it's going to make a difference. It's not that the veterinary specific M&A attorneys are more expensive or less expensive.
That's an interesting point.
Those cost structures are kind of all over the place depending on who you use. So it's really not a cost thing. It's just a matter of if you want it to go smooth, I would highly, highly, highly recommend a veterinary specific M&A attorney. And it's just for the reasons of it's not going to delay things. It's going to decrease your stress level. They're not going to go after a bunch of things that are just going to create a lot of back and forth with them with both sides of the legal counsel, and you're just it alleviates a lot of issues. And the ones that are very familiar with the industry, the veterinary specific ones, it just goes so much smoother. They know exactly what they can get. They know what they should be trying to get. It's not that they're not battling for your best interest. They're just not wasting time asking for certain things that are just never going to happen.
Well, and there's also a positive aspect to using a veterinary M&A attorney. Instead of, we focus on some of like the negatives, meaning like, here's what you need to watch out for if you use like a normal attorney. But there's a positive in using an M&A attorney that's veterinary specific, in that they have seen deals from all these different groups. And so maybe there's something they've seen in another group's deal that your deal doesn't have, and they can say, hey, wait a minute, this other buyer does this, I want this. And so they may also be able to add positive aspects to a deal, because they've seen so many other buyer contracts that they can say, hey, like, this other buyer contract offers this, we think that that's something that you should offer too. So there's the creativity standpoint there too.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. So if, thanks for your answer on this. This has come up a lot recently, with our clients, and we've seen situations where a deal has almost fallen apart, or at least been almost delayed for 3 months, where and it specifically had an attorney, and you should never be in a position where you know the legal part is what's holding something up. Usually you want the legal stuff done, what, 2, 3 weeks before the deal is finally consummated. So if you ever get to a point where the legal stuff is holding everything up, that's just never good. If you're watching this and you have any questions about, well, how do I even know where to find an M&A attorney, or one that's veterinary specific? We've worked with a ton over the years. We keep a list. So if you're working with us, we usually give you a list. All of them are good. There's a lot of them out there. Additionally, I want to say, if there's a topic that you want us to talk about in 360 half seconds, please shoot us a note. If you're considering selling your practice, or you're considering an exit plan even down the road, please also shoot us a note. We're happy to give you our opinions on what's going on with your practice, tell you a little bit more about what's going on in the market. You can reach me at Kia at 360vetsales.com. That's KIA. You could reach him, Matthew at 360vetsales.com. And you can watch all of these episodes on our YouTube channel. So, Matt, thanks so much. And until next time.
Thanks, Kay. I appreciate it.